halls of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50, the 10, the 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
But Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels feared to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride!
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
Leave no doubt tonight. They shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
And now recorded from the CRW studios in Almost Heaven, West Virginia, it's the Country Roads webcast with your host, Jordan Cruz.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the CRW podcast here for episode 196, where we're going to provide a preview of the Big 12 conference opener for WVU as they get set to welcome the Kansas Jayhawks into Morgantown in the fourth game of the 2024 season. We're going to talk about the matchups on each side of the ball. We'll, of course, provide our key to victory and our score prediction. And then we'll take a look around the Big 12 and make our picks for some of the other games going on in week 4 of the Big 12 Conference. And joining me to help me do that, as always, my co-host, Steven.
What is going on, everybody?
Bradley out on assignment tonight for this week's episode, but we're going to get into the Kansas Jayhawks nonetheless and talk a little bit about this matchup. Before we get into kind of some of the particulars, Steven, opening thoughts. I know coming off a tough loss, obviously, the Mountaineers are. Have you recovered from it? Are you ready to look forward like we hope the team is as well?
I don't know if recovered's the right word. I'm still pretty down in the dumps myself, to be completely honest with you. I'm trying to bring myself out of it, but I don't know. I just need to see, like I told you earlier before we got started, I just need to see something more on the field for me to be any more optimistic than I am right now. Yeah,
this one's kind of lingering and festering, and it's not a good place the Mountaineer Nation is in, but, that could all be righted with a good win to start Big 12 conference play, maybe get some people thinking that things aren't as dire as they seem. But we're going to see what happens, because this is certainly a must-win game. And, in this game, coming in at 1-2, you got a quarterback that was, projected to be, maybe one of the conference players of the year. You got a team that was projected to be, a conference contender, and their only win thus far is over an FCS program. They've lost their other 2 non-conference games. And what's funny about that, Steven, is I could be talking about Kansas or I could be talking about WVU right there. It applies to both.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Both teams have had, I don't know, each team has had different styles of games. In Kansas's previous game, I was really shocked whenever you had messaged me and told me that they had lost, because I turned it off at halftime because Jorden Daniels was balling up until halftime, and then apparently after that, I don't know what happened to him, but
it fell apart.
Yeah, hopefully West Virginia can get some of that going this weekend against them, but I don't know. Him being as mobile as he is, it really scares me.
Yeah, that's one thing we're going to have to worry about for sure with the way that we've given up quarterback scrambles. Their offense obviously a little bit different with that Andy Koldunicky, and we'll get into that here in a moment and talk more about that and their new offensive coordinator and such. But just as a kind of a preview for this one, just to kind of let us know where we're at. Obviously, the Big 12 conference opener for both teams. It's going to take place at noon on ESPN2. It's the 13th meeting all time between West Virginia and Kansas. WVU is 10-2. Versus the Jayhawks, but Kansas has the most recent win the last time they were in Morgantown back in 2022 with the overtime victory in that game. Like I said, both teams coming in at 1-2 overall. Kansas with losses to UNLV and Illinois. Head coach still Lance Leipold in his 4th season there at Kansas. And as I said, both these teams were teams that were kind of projected to be, conference contenders and now are kind of fighting for the life to remain in them at this point and hopefully remain, conference contenders moving forward, or at least feel like they have a chance at it, because whoever drops to 1-3 in this game is certainly feeling like they're almost out of it and really could shake up their season in a bad way. So it's a must-win game for both teams as we come into this. Steven, any other thoughts before we get into the particular matchups on both sides?
No, just like I touched on the other day, if you do lose this game, it doesn't get any easier because of the next I think 3 to 4 opponents are going to be in the top 3 to 4 in the Big 12 conference. So you're literally playing the topper level of this conference. Yep,
Definitely
must win game, absolutely.
For sure, must-win game. And as you said, they're about to be a extremely tough stretch for West Virginia right here with these first 5 games to begin conference play. So you really need to try and take care of your home field here when you're getting this one at home, and take care of the games that you have a chance to win, which West Virginia should have a chance to win this football game. But let's break it down on each side, talk a little bit about how and why they may be able to do so. And let's first talk about something we teased a little bit there, and that's the Kansas offense going up against the West Virginia defense. Do a preview on this side first. Mentioned Kansas with the new offensive coordinator this year. We know Andy Kotelnicki left and went to Penn State. West Virginia already had to face him this year. Kansas has replaced him with Jeff Grimes in his first season there at Kansas. He's previously been at Baylor and then was at BYU with Zach Wilson before then. They come in averaging 28.3 points per game, 403 total yards per game, with 239 of those coming on the ground and 164 of those coming through the air. And speaking of, one of their better players, we talked about Jalen Daniels, but really Devin Neal has been the standout for them this season. Their running game has been their strong suit on offense. Devin Neal is currently 12th nationally in rushing yards with 333. He's averaging 7.5 yards per carry. They also have another good running back as his backup there in Daniel Highshaw. I believe he missed the last game dealing with an illness, but I think he's expected to be back and help Devin Neal carry that load in the backfield, and they may be counted on to carry more of that load because Jalen Daniels, as we talked about, the talented Kansas quarterback, sat out last season, was expected to really burst back onto the scene and be maybe even a dark horse Heisman contender this year, has really had some struggles in the early part of this season, struggled with some inaccuracy, but really more than anything has been turnover prone. He's thrown 6 interceptions versus only 3 touchdowns, but we do know that he can hurt you with his legs as well. He has 100 rushing yards on the year and 2 touchdowns, only completing 55% of his passes, so leaving a little bit left to be desired there. When they do go to air it out, their go-to receivers are, of course, Lawrence Arnold and Luke Grimm. Both have caught touchdowns this season, and they're the only 2 Kansas receivers with double-digit receptions thus far in 2024. But Quentin Skinner has been a deep threat for them in the past, so he's another receiver to look out for. Tight ends Jared Casey and Trevor Cardell will be the ones that are on the field for them. They help them a lot with the things they do in the run game, but they do like to throw it to them on occasion. They have a very experienced offensive line full of seniors and redshirt juniors, one of the better offensive lines thus far in the Big 12 according to PFF ratings. And they've moved the ball well, but they've been turnover prone. So, that's an area to look to in this game, I think, is turnovers. But West Virginia's defense, unfortunately, has struggled to force turnovers this year as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that matchup plays out. Stephen, when you look at this Kansas offense going up against, a West Virginia defense, it's kind of an interesting look because you have Jalen Daniels, who has struggled to throw the ball this season, but you have a West Virginia defense that struggled to defend the pass this season. So really, I'm just kind of hoping this isn't a get-right game for Jalen Daniels. What are your thoughts of this matchup, the Mountaineer defense going up against the Jayhawk offense?
I'm confident in our ability to defend the running game. I thought we did a really good job of doing that last week, even against a really good running back. I feel confident that we should be able to do that again this week, but I don't know. That's with him having struggles throughout the early part of the season. It just seems like West Virginia should be able to do well against him. I think West Virginia's done a good job of they're not getting turnovers, but they've forced a good amount of fumbles that they just haven't recovered.
True.
So I don't know. I just really think West Virginia's got to do a good job of containing the quarterback and not letting him scramble out of the pocket or stepping up into the pocket, and then going for 20 and 30 yards at a time. So I think that's the game largely hinges on that, to me, is if West Virginia is able to stop him from scrambling all day. Because whether he's able to pass the ball or not, like, we haven't we haven't been able to contain a quarterback yet.
And that's the scary part because, the first 3 games were against, quarterbacks that aren't exactly, dual threats, and they really hurt you with their legs, especially
Right.
Holstein late in the previous games. And now you're taking on a quarterback who is a dual threat who can really hurt you with his legs. So it's something, if they don't get cleaned up, could be super detrimental in this football game. It's Jalen Daniels making plays with his feet.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm terrified. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little scared.
Well, and I think that looking at Kansas, with the way that they've been playing, like I said, their offensive line's been playing good. They've done a good job running the football. Maybe when they're looking at themselves, because that's the thing with both these two teams, they're coming into this week, they're evaluating themselves as much as their opponent, saying, okay, where have we struggled? What can we do to correct that? Well, if I'm Kansas and I'm looking at where have we struggled, it's, passing the football and, what has Jalen Daniels done well? He's ran the football well. We just haven't really had a lot of designed runs for him this year. So I would not be surprised to see them utilize some more of those design runs for Jalen Daniels this week, especially when you think back to a couple of years ago when West Virginia played Kansas in Morgantown and he really killed us with his legs on option plays and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them throw a little bit more of that into the mix this week. I know our run defense has been good, but now you're going to have an added element, I think, to worry about with a, read key of a pitch man versus going on the quarterback. So, it's going to be a little bit more of a different challenge for our defense to hopefully continue still playing run defense, but they're going to have their hands full. I think Devin Neal's a great running back too.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I don't mean to disrespect him in any way. I just think West Virginia, if anything, TJ Jackson hopefully will have another good game. And hopefully they don't make me eat my words about that.
Yeah.
Come out.
We're going to need it.
Look bad there.
That defensive line needs to play like they did last game.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I need to still be optimistic. I was still optimistic last week. They can still turn it around, I guess. We just got to make some type of change.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take adjustments for sure. Definitely going to take some adjustments. And, one of those adjustments I think for West Virginia is going to be, like we talked about, hopefully trying to get some interceptions in this game. West Virginia has 0 interceptions through 3 games on the season. They've given up, I think 7 touchdown passes. Both the past 2 quarterbacks they faced have thrown for over 300 yards. Drew Aller wasn't far off from that. So, you're looking at a quarterback that's struggling in Jalen Daniels, but they're probably looking at our secondary saying, hey, we can maybe throw the ball on these guys, though, even though Jalen Daniels has struggled. So I think really this is going to be the telltale sign, right? Because we've seen what Kansas has done in these first 3 games, how their passing offense has struggled. If they come in to Morgantown on Saturday and they're able to throw the football all over the yard and Jalen Daniels puts together his best passing performance by far, it's really just going to show how bad off our secondary is and how whatever adjustments they're planning on making this week, if those took or not, I think you're going to be able to tell a lot of that from this game against Kansas on Saturday, because if they come out and throw the ball on us, it's certainly a bad sign for the future for what's already looks like a porous pass defense.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And it's literally worst case scenario, in my opinion.
Yeah,
if that happens, but you're right.
But I think that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on Saturday is what adjustments did they make, because it sounded like there is not only going to be some maybe different personnel that gets in there. They said Jacoby Spells is pretty close to 100%. I'm expecting him to play. He didn't get in last week. Maybe some more snaps for TJ Crandall at cornerback, but I wouldn't be, opposed, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were some schematic changes there as well, because whatever they're doing now currently isn't working. So maybe the way they're coaching some techniques, they try and switch up a little bit this week as well. Definitely just something to keep an eye on, I think, as West Virginia's back in and how they perform on Saturday, obviously is the area that we need to improve the most.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's pretty much what I got on the Kansas offense against the West Virginia defense there, Steven. Any other thoughts you want to throw in there before we flip it over to the other side?
No, I think our secondary just needs to come in with an attitude and show that they want it, I guess.
That's for sure, man. That's for sure. They need to bounce back. And, speaking of bounce backs, if you personally need to bounce back, there's no better way to bounce back from, a rough day the previous day, or just be ready to attack your day as it comes to you each and every day than with Magic Mind. You guys know the mental performance shot. We've talked about it a lot here on the Country Roads webcast, and that's because it's such a great product. Stephen and I can both attest to it now, having used it, each of us. Me for some weeks now. Stephen got a chance to try it out last week, as we talked about on the last episode, and he was able to reap the benefits as I have, during the weeks taking Magic Mind. And that's the good thing about it. Whether you want to give it a one-time trial, it can help you then, or if you get you a subscription, it even helps you even further, because those benefits continue to stack up with daily use. So not only is it good and good for you, but it does good causes as well. As every bottle that is sold, they donate a little bit to mental health charities. You also have the 100% money back guarantee within 100 days of your purchase. So all kinds of great reasons to try Magic Mind, but maybe none better than the fact that you can get a discount from us here on the Country Roads webcast using our special link and code. And that link is magicmind.com/countrylt. And if you use code countrylt20 at checkout, you can get 48% off that first subscription, or 20% off a one-time purchase. Tested by doctors, all natural ingredients. Just no reason not to give Magic Mind a try, especially when you get those cherries on top of the discount from us here using code countrylt20 at magicmind.com/countrylt. Try your Magic Mind today. Your mind will thank you for it. Having said that, Stephen, let's flip it over to the other side a little bit and talk about the West Virginia offense going up against the Kansas defense in this football game. A little bit of info on this Kansas defense. Their defensive coordinator still remains Brian Borland in his fourth season there, as he came in with Lance Leipold 4 years ago. You can tell that they currently have a lot of continuity on that side, because they're playing very well with a lot of the experienced pieces they have on that side. Even in their losses to UNLV and Illinois, they held both of those teams to under 300 total yards, so their defense certainly wasn't the culprit in those losses. Two senior corners that are two of the better corners in the Big 12. Kobe Bryant, been there for a long time, and then Mello Dotson has really stood out this year. Both are very good. Dotson has an interception and 3 pass breakups. Kobe Bryant with 2 pass breakups of his own. And Mello Dotson is the highest graded PFF defender on Kansas's entire roster there, with an impressive 86.4 grade, but he tops that with an 87.5 coverage grade. So he has done an excellent job in pass coverage this year. Then a couple linebackers that have stood out there are J.B. Brown and Cornell Wheeler. They've both racked up 15-plus tackles each, and they have 80-plus run defense grades and tackling grades that are above 85-plus as well. On the defensive line, Jeremy Robinson and Dean Miller have both had multiple sacks and TFLs this season. And the thing to watch for with this defense, as I mentioned, the continuity and the experience is what really stands out to me. Of the 6 players that I just named, 5 are seniors, and pretty much everyone that you'll see play on this Kansas defense is either a senior or a redshirt junior. So a ton of experience along this unit, and I think that's one reason they've had a lot of success this year. Even in their losses, they've put up good performances. So West Virginia's offense is going to have to show up and play in this game and really try and hopefully be able to move the ball better than, UNLV and Illinois did. Even West Virginia, I think, would hopefully hope to get over 300 total yards, which neither of those teams was able to accomplish. But, Stephen, West Virginia's offense, kind of been a bit of a mixed bag through these first 3 games. At times they've looked really good, but then at times they've stalled out a bit. Going up against what is right now, according to PFF, the top defense in the Big 12 thus far, early on. Small sample size, but Kansas is playing good defense. How do you think this Mountaineer offense will match up with that Jayhawk defense?
You got to hope really, really well, but I'm not so sure, really. Our receivers still up to this point really haven't shown consistency to catch the football, but you got to hope that our running game can get established. I don't know. I think if anything, Gigi's got to play better.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that I'm looking for. First and foremost is for Gigi to come out and play with the heart that I know that he can, because I know that it's not all on Gigi. Like, I know that's, like I said the other day, it's more of them trying to make him play a different game than what really he should be playing.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Make him a drop back passer instead of a scrambler or a run quarterback. That's what he is. So I don't know. If they let GG come out and play his game, then I think we have potential to, to do well against them. But we got to
Yeah,
match
and I
their
think
points because I just don't think our defense is going to be able to stop their offense from scoring, especially early.
Yeah, and I think we're going to need that as well, especially when I watched, I pretty much watched the entire Kansas UNLV game from this past week. And one thing that UNLV had success with against Kansas, as good as Kansas defense played for the most part of that game, was UNLV's quarterback running the football was really where UNLV found their most success against Kansas. So I think that's something we need to look for in this game is hopefully, more designed runs for GG, more of those option plays where he has an option to hand it off or keep it. Because it seems like those have really been lacking from our offense here recently early in this part of the season. Like you said, trying to make him into more of a drop back passer. There's been a few design runs, but really only, quarterback draws is all I've seen. Don't know where the other aspects went of the QB sweeps we were running. Like I said, the read option plays with the RPOs mixed in. I definitely think we need a heavy dose of those in this game, especially to keep this Kansas defense guessing with what we're doing. Because if they get a beat on what we're doing, as evidenced by the numbers, they really have some players that can put on good performances.
Yeah, no doubt. And I really don't want to get into a turnover battle with them because if that's the case, they're really good. They're really good at taking the ball away. So if it comes down to that, then again, I don't like our chances.
Yeah, it's
I hate
it's
how
interesting
people I'm
matchup.
sounding, but
No, man, it is what it is. It's just where we are. Unfortunately,
unfortunately.
It's hard to be optimistic when the only thing you have to go on is what you've seen in the first 3 games. We can hope against hope, but the only thing is until we see them do it, it's kind of hard to come on here and, speak about it and say, hey, we're going to do this and that when we haven't, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, and we've tried to, not that we'll ever like not be fans, but we've tried to have their back like so many times. And, they come out and they prove you wrong so many times. You just can't. And again, I'm not calling for Neil Brown's head like everybody else. That's not what I'm doing. But what I'm saying is I've got to see what we've been saying that we expect to see before I continue to back that up.
Yeah, because that's it. That's a great way to put it because we're kind of just in wait and see mode now at this point. We still got the gold and blue glasses on standby. We can put them on if need be, but for now, I got to see it on the field and see what happens because, just being straight honest with you, Steven, I don't know if you feel the same or not, but, judging this offense this year thus far compared to where it was at the end of last season, I don't think it looks anywhere near as explosive personally.
No. And I know that people can make all the excuses about we played a lackluster team in that bowl game. Yeah, they were without players, but, I thought our offense looked really, really good in that game.
Yeah. I mean, I remember just that back half of the season going into each game thinking, no matter what, we're going to put some points on the board. We're going to move the ball. We're going to put up yards. It's going to be fun to watch. It felt like the good old days again, just because we at least had that explosive and exciting offense. And through 3 games thus far this season, not that our offense has even played bad. I think they've been good at times, but it just doesn't even feel like the same offense because of some of the changes they've made, just the way that they're playing. It just seems kind of vanilla to me. And that explosiveness, that fun that was there last season just doesn't seem to be there thus far this year.
No, not at all. And it's I don't know what the big change was that's, made it so different because you still have a large portion of the same elements that you had on that offense last year. You got CJ, Jaheim, GG, Hudson, Preston, like all these guys you had last year on that offense look, I'm not discrediting Zach Frazier at all, but it's like the loss of him that huge to where it makes our offense function that different?
I wouldn't think so.
I
have a kind of a theory that I was thinking about in the past few days because, I'm sure like you and like everyone else through Mountaineer Nation has been, just running everything through my mind about what's wrong, what's went wrong, just those type of scenarios. And one of the things that I kept coming back to was like, why would we make GG more of a drop back passer? Why would we try and throw the ball more? Like last game, I think we threw 30 some passes, and I don't think we need to be throwing the ball that much. And the one thing I keep coming back to is maybe, just maybe, throughout the spring, throughout fall camp. They were seeing Gigi throw the ball against our defense, and he was making all kinds of plays. And they was like, man, he's really throwing the ball well. We can put more passing into our offense, make him more of a pocket passer, because he's looking really good in practice. But then now that we're 3 games into the season, why he was probably looking so good and why they probably thought that is because the secondary's been trash. So
that might be.
maybe
But
that's
also,
what it is.
but I mean, also he was at the Manning camp, and like he was there with the most elite quarterbacks in the country. Like Arch Manning was there. Like I'm pretty sure Quinn Ewers was there. Like all the top quarterbacks are raving about how good of a passer that he is. So I don't know. I think he can be a good passer. I just think that like the pressure gets to him, I guess, too much.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Something.
I really don't know what it is.
Something just seems off there. There's a disconnect somewhere.
Or some people can throw the ball well until there's a lineman in your face.
That's true too.
And you got 5 defensive linemen trying to come after you. I mean that adds, I guess, to it, but still. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what I kept thinking is as bad as our secondary has looked. I'm like, yeah, you know what? In fall camp, Gigi and our receivers probably looked like they were going to be some of the best in the nation. Our coaches thought probably, but they didn't realize that maybe it's because our defense, our secondary is not that great. I don't know, just a theory.
I don't know, man. I really don't know.
It's tough to call.
Hopefully we get some answers. It's surprising because like that's my thing. It's not just that the coaches were telling us this. It's like we've seen how good they can be.
Yeah.
Like you touched on it. Like at the end of the last season, we were like, oh my God, okay, we got something going into the next season. We're not seeing the same thing at all on either side of the ball.
It's like a lot of those players that we were watching last season, they really just haven't taken that step forward that we were expecting they would take here, another year involved with this offense. And is it because they switched up the scheme a little bit and it's not the same things they were used to running last year? I don't know that for sure, but if so, maybe that's playing a part in it too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got to be
one thing
something.
I will say is I think that I would not be surprised, just judging on last game's results, the way that things have kind of been shaken out there. You talked about the receivers. I think that in some ways they've struggled to get separation. And, love Huddy Tuddy, love Preston Fox. But maybe it's time we just see a little bit more Justin Robinson, a little bit more Jaden Bray. Both those guys, they haven't had nearly the snap count that the other two have, but they've been making plays when they've been in there. So I don't know if we're going to see them in the starting lineup in this game, but I would expect them to have close to an even number of snaps as, P. Fox and Hudson Clement in this game. I think we'll see probably a little bit more Justin Robinson, a little bit more Jaden Bray, and maybe we should.
Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe we should see a little bit more, Traylon Ray and Rodney Gallagher too, because it doesn't seem like those guys are happy with the amount of reps that they're getting.
True. Good point.
Or at least with the way that the offense is developing.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I think both of those have really, really bright futures. I was hoping that those would be, those futures would be with us. I'm afraid if it doesn't get corrected, it won't be.
Yeah, I know. That's the other thing you have to worry about when it comes to this is do you have a team that's going to rally behind you and you can really, trust to, bounce back in these type of situations when your back's against the wall? Or do you have a type of team that's, somewhat going to fold and then you lose the locker room? Then you have really big issues moving forward. I think this game's going to tell us a lot as far as that's concerned. If this team's still ready, still believes in everything that they were saying earlier in the season about potentially being Big 12 champions, because, that's the way that I think the coaches probably would have to sell this to the team is, yeah, we struggled through non-conference play, but this is the start of our season now. That's kind of how they have to sell it to these guys, probably to, keep them balled in and hopefully have them ready to put forth their best effort on Saturday is, our season can start right now, right here with Big 12 play. It's a whole new game for us. We can start playing, the way that we think we can play, and we can show everyone that we're a good team here on out. And we just got to hope that that's what they're preaching and that the players are buying into it.
No, I mean, last year our whole mantra was that they picked us last to finish last in the conference. So I guess now we can put that back up on the board because everybody's
they got doubters again.
Yeah, everybody's picking us to finish last again.
Yep.
So.
Even that's what they could say. Last year, the outside media was against you. Now, even your own fan base doesn't think you can get it done. So maybe that'll motivate.
I mean, I'm obviously I would never do this, but like I would not be surprised if the stadium booed him coming out of the freaking tunnel on Saturday.
Yeah, that's
Like
something to
that's
watch
how
for.
mad people are. This has been one of the most depressing weeks to be a Mountaineer fan in my entire life.
I agree. It's been rough, and especially if the Kansas comes out and starts throwing the ball around, I definitely think the Boo Birds may come out. So it's something to keep an eye on Saturday. I won't be booing. I'll be there in the stands. I'm
I
sure
won't.
Steven won't be booing either, but it's definitely something I could see happen if things start going awry on Saturday. So hopefully they come out from the start, get off to a good start, and get the crowd behind them versus being upset and being against them, waiting on things to turn ugly. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see a good performance. Like I said, me and Steven will be there in the stands. We'll be cheering on this West Virginia offense going up against a very talented Kansas defense as we address there. It's going to be a matchup to watch in this one for sure. Kansas's strength, which is versus what's been West Virginia's strength as well, is their offense, and we're hoping to see that offense play even better in this game. But Steven, any final thoughts on that matchup before we get into the nitty-gritty time where we give our keys to victory and our score prediction?
Nope, I don't want to keep harping on them. I just want them to come out and show me something this weekend.
Yeah, hoping so too. I'm hoping to see good performance all around. Hopefully the receivers step up. Hopefully GG gets back to what we know he can be and should be. And hopefully CJ and Jaheim have good games as well. That's what we're hoping going up against a good Kansas defense. But having said that, we've talked about the matchups on both sides of the ball a little bit. Now we're going to get into our key to victory. And then, of course, we'll follow that up with our score prediction. Steven, both teams coming into this must-win scenario. Both teams 1-2, looking to get that second win and looking even more importantly to start conference playoff on the right foot. In order for West Virginia to do that and be able to get a conference win here to begin Big 12 play, what do you think is the key to them being able to get that done?
I truly believe that it's containing Jorden Daniels. I don't think that there's any way around it. I think if they can contain him in any way, then they'll have a shot. Because our secondary is bad, but their passing game's bad. Hopefully, if we can slow him down, then it'll by an effect slow their entire offense down. But I don't know, not confident.
Yeah, it's that's definitely a key right there. A major key is containing Jalen Daniels for sure.
Jalen Daniels, sorry, I said
Both
Jaden.
with his, that's confusing, right? I mean,
So
they have
confusing.
darn near the same name, but yeah, definitely containing him is a major key for sure. Can hurt you with his legs, can hurt you with his arm. Hasn't really done a lot with his arm this season, but like I said, West Virginia's secondary struggled, so we're going to have to see what happens in that matchup. But the way our run defense is played, if our pass defense can do a good job against them and we can make them one-dimensional, I definitely think it increases our chances. So great key there, Steven, containing Jalen Daniels. My key to victory we've kind of touched on a little bit. For me, I think it's win the turnover battle. Kansas has lost 2 fumbles this year. They've thrown 6 interceptions. West Virginia hasn't really forced any turnovers. They have 1 turnover, but it came on, a mishandled snap by Penn State. So really, West Virginia didn't even force that. They just, recovered that snap. They have 0 interceptions on the year. So this is what you're looking at, I think, in this game is Kansas going to continue to be turnover prone? And can West Virginia finally get some turnovers to go their way? You look last week, they had a potential pick 6 against Pitt. They were able to, unable to convert on. We've mentioned, some fumbles they've been unable to recover throughout this season as well. So you've got to think eventually that ball is going to bounce your way. And in this game, I think you really need it to going up against the Kansas team that's shown to be turnover prone thus far throughout the season. You have to take advantage of that in this football game. I think if you find a way to win the turnover battle, you got a good chance to win this football game. So that's my key in this one.
Yep.
Which leads us to that time, Steven. Best time of the episodes, most times, of course, one of my favorite parts always is our score predictions. And that's what we're going to get into here. Now, West Virginia versus Kansas. Steven, you let off the keys first, so I'll come out with my prediction first in this one. And it's funny, man. I did my notes earlier today, and I left the score prediction part blank because I really kind of wanted to sit on it throughout the day and kind of come away with how I felt. And, after sitting on it, I've came to, a conclusion that, it's not my favorite conclusion ever, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. with just given what we've seen, I can only try and be as unbiased as much as possible with this prediction, because it's like we said, until we see it on the field, it's kind of hard for me to predict another West Virginia win. I predicted wins in the first 3 games. I've been wrong twice. So, maybe I'll be wrong again. And I think Mountaineer Nation will hope that I'm wrong, because in this game, I've got Kansas winning 30-27 over WVU. Honestly, I think that Kansas's defense is outside of Penn State. I think it's better than the Pitt defense, which kind of worries me a little bit in that matchup. And then I think when I look at West Virginia's back end and how they've played, until they come out on Saturday and hopefully show me otherwise, I'm just a little bit worried about Jalen Daniels having his get-right game against us. And as you mentioned earlier, also worried about his ability to scramble out of the pocket and make plays. So all those things combined, until West Virginia shows me that they can stop someone's passing game and they can actually force some turnovers, which I think they're going to need to do in this game, I think that Kansas is going to come out and get a win by 3 points. Hopefully I eat crow on this one and I'm wrong, but I'm going Kansas 30, West Virginia 27 is my score prediction in this one. Steven, how about you? Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more confident than I am.
Unfortunately, you'd be wrong to think so, my friend. For a lot of the same sentiments that you just said, we can only be. We seem like we're unrealistic a lot, and we're wildly optimistic, but a lot of times we really truly are trying to give our unbiased opinion, and that's what we always try to do. So, truthfully speaking, you're a little bit more friendly on the score prediction this week than I am with them, because I've got them losing 34-24. Because I just with our complete inability to stop the passing game, and our complete inability to stop the scrambling quarterback, we leave gaping holes for a scrambling quarterback, and for a good scrambler like Jalen Daniels. I just don't see how West Virginia is going to be able to stop that, which is really unfortunate, because I think, spoiler alert, I think if West Virginia loses this game this weekend, they're probably going to start off 1-7, 1-8.
Yeah, that's what's the scary part of it is after this game, it certainly doesn't get any easier. You got like 3 ranked teams in a row after this game against Kansas. So just another reason that this is a must win, and hopefully we're both wrong and both end up eating crow. But as you said, and I said there, it's just hard to believe it until we see it. And I think in a lot of ways, it's just not a great matchup for West Virginia, with how our receivers have struggled, how our passing game has struggled, how talented Kansas's corners are. That's a bad matchup for us. And then, of course, everything we talked about on their offense with Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal. We'll see how it shakes out. We've been wrong, a couple times this season already, so maybe we'll be wrong again, and West Virginia comes out and surprises and really puts on a good football game on Saturday. I'm fingers crossed that happens. I'd love to be wrong on this one, because we need the bounce back win, and we need the win to kind of save our season, because as Steven said there, if you don't get this one, then you may really be in trouble.
Yeah, no doubt. Because you got the bye week, coming up next week, but going out to Stillwater and playing that Oklahoma State team, that's a good Oklahoma State team.
Yes.
Then you got to turn around, come home and play Iowa State, which I'm strongly not very confident in that game. And then Kansas State and Arizona are both pretty good football teams in their own respect. Yeah. Arizona's not as good as a lot of people thought they were going to be, but I still think they're a lot better of a football team than West Virginia's shown that they are.
It's tough slate.
And you got to play Cincinnati on the road. Cincinnati might not be that good of a football team, but playing up there.
Yeah. Road games are always tough in this conference, man. It's never going to be easy to get a win on the road. That's why you got to hope that you can, do good with your home slate. West Virginia's hoping that they can do that, and they're going to need to try and win these home games if they want to find their way, to their main goal, which was, competing for a Big 12 title, which that seems, kind of like a pipe dream at this point. But even if you want to get to a bowl game, you're going to have to find a way to win these home conference games, starting with this one coming up against Kansas. But as we've laid out there, it's going to be no easy task. But don't get us wrong. Just because, we're trying to remain unbiased with these picks doesn't mean we're not going to be there hoping for the victory, cheering the Mountaineers on every step of the way, like we hope the rest of Mountaineer Nation is as well. We'll never root for the Mountaineers to fail. We always hope that we come out and surprise us and get the wins. We just got to hope that it happens,
Yep. We'll always be here, man, but that's I guess that's what they say. These times are what makes the good times so good. So
That's true. Great way to put it, man. And, we've been Mountaineer fans for a long time. We'll be Mountaineer fans for many years. So we've suffered through times like this before, and always brighter days have come around. It's just got to hope they come, sooner rather than later. And we'll see what happens on Saturday. We could be singing a different tune by this time next week. We'll see. Hopefully we are. But for now, that's what we've got. The matchups on these sides, our key to victory, and our score prediction for this Big 12 conference opener against the Kansas Jayhawks, and a must-win football game for both teams. But, Stephen, any other thoughts on that before we take a look at this Big 12 slate for Week 4 and make our picks for the conference games?
No, I just want to say that we've been on the Neil Brown hype train or support train or whatever the hell you want to call it for a long time now. He hasn't spent a single week inside the top 25 as his tenure at WVU. That's got to change. That has to change. Because in the next few weeks, I'm sitting on the fence of that train. Whatever you want to say, I don't know. Too sad and mad to make sense of anything right now. So,
which and that's even us still being optimistic, because everyone else, or for the most part, is firmly in the get rid of Neil Brown, side. So us being on the fence is still us trying to remain a little bit optimistic. But if we get into conference play and things don't go our way, then we'll probably firmly be in that camp as well. And that's tough to swallow and tough to say for me, because, I'm a climb truster from way back in 2019. So, it just kind of hurts. And I think that what really, we've talked about this a little bit before we started recording, which I think the reason that there's so much backlash and the reason so many people are feeling this way is because these coaches just kind of dug their own grave doing it this way as they came out in the preseason and we're talking about this team's so deep. This team's by far our best team. This team looks like a Big 12 contender. So when you say all those things and you get everyone drinking the Kool-Aid and get everyone balled in, even those that were previously not balled in, and then you come out and you lay eggs and look as bad as you have in these first 3 games, obviously there's going to be a ton of disdain, a ton of people, discrediting you because of that. And, that's why a lot of people are really completely out on Neil Brown now. And I can't say that I blame them, because that was a tough one to swallow, is you get everyone balled in and then you come out and you look pretty much the complete opposite of what you said in the preseason. So it's tough to deal with.
Yeah, no doubt. It is a very hard pill to swallow, because we were when we got rid of Dana and we were in a coaching search, he was at the top of both of our lists. Mm-hmm. He was the guy that all of us wanted. So I think that's a large part of it, too, that makes it so tough. But, you can say what you want about Dana, and I still, not the biggest fan of the guy, but he at least had us playing some explosive football and had us in the top 25 pretty regularly.
Pretty much every year.
Whether we compete for the national or for a conference championship, we were still, one of the top 25 football teams in the country. And people can say whatever the hell they want about West Virginia, but traditionally that's what West Virginia fans should expect, is to be a top 25 football team and at least contend for, like I think you've mentioned, it's not unrealistic to think as fans that we should expect to at least contend for a conference championship at least once a decade.
Yeah.
More than that, but at least once.
Play in the conference championship game. I mean, even if we don't win it, I'd like to at least be in there once a decade.
Yeah, basketball, we played in the conference championship tournament, the conference tournament championship game, several times. Yeah. Several times, played Kansas in it.
Yep.
Didn't win it, but we played in it a lot.
But they've been there. Exactly.
And they contended for that championship a lot. So, I don't know.
We definitely, we deserve more throughout Mountaineer Nation, and hopefully this staff recognizes it and does everything in their power to turn it around and make it happen for us. And if not, we'll see what happens at the end of the season and and kind of go from there. But regardless, we're going to be rooting on the Mountaineers and hoping that we find that success here in the near future, because we're all starved to be able to compete in this Big 12 conference, and hopefully we can get fulfilled on that sooner rather than later, whether it's with this staff or another staff in the future. We'll see what happens, but it all starts on Saturday in this game coming up against Kansas. It's going to tell us a lot about which way and which direction that we're heading in. Hopefully it's a positive one. But having said that, Stephen, talking about the Big 12 conference opener, why don't we talk about some of the other games going on around the conference here in week 4 as well, and take a look and make our picks for some of the slate this week. All Saturday games this week, actually, interestingly enough. No weekday games this week here in week 4. We're leading it off with Houston and Cincinnati. They'll also be playing at noon. That one's on Fox Sports 1. I think this is a bit interesting matchup, more so than I would have thought it would have been, a couple weeks ago when we saw Houston get dominated by UNLV. We were thinking, man, is this Houston team pretty bad? But then they turn around, they compete with Oklahoma, then they beat Rice. So, Houston coming into this game a little bit better than we expected earlier. And then Cincinnati, we talked about them, not going to be a contender in the league or anything, but not a terrible team by any means either. Playing at home, I think I'm going to go for the Bearcats on this one, Steven. I'm going to pick Cincinnati. Who do you got in this matchup?
Yeah, I got to roll Cincinnati in this one. Houston's still not there yet.
Still not there, but I do think that they've got a good coach in Willie Fritz, and they'll be better sooner rather than later, probably.
Yeah.
But this one we're riding with the Bearcats. Then we talked about Kansas and WVU at noon on ESPN2 if you want to watch it. Arkansas State travels to Ames to take on Iowa State in a 2 o'clock kick there on ESPN+. Arkansas State, not a bad group of 5 team, but I think that Iowa State will be too much to handle. Talked a little bit about them earlier when we were talking about the future schedule. They're looking pretty talented this year. They always have a good defense there with John Haycock, and it seems like their offense is really looking pretty strong. Jalen Noel looking like one of the better receivers in the conference, and we know about Rocco Becht. And I'm going to pick Iowa State. I think they'll handle Arkansas State. Steven, who do you got?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. I think Rocco Becht is a hell of a quarterback, and like you said, their defense is it's going to be too much. So give me Iowa State and at home.
Yeah, Ames is a tough place to play. Same here, man. So in agreement there. Next up, a 3:30 kick on Fox Sports 1. Getting into conference play, some conference matchups this week. Arizona State and Texas Tech is one of those. One of the newcomers there. Arizona State has to travel all the way across the country there and go to Lubbock there in Texas. And here's the thing, man. Texas Tech, they looked really bad early in the season. They gave up 51 points to Abilene Christian. They come back last week, though, and they put up 66 of their own. Seemed like that a bit of a get-right game. And really, it's a tale of two teams. It's kind of been that way under Joey McGuire. They play not so great on the road. They play usually pretty good at home. Arizona State may be the surprise of the Big 12 thus far with how good they've played. So interesting matchup here. But I'm going to take the Red Raiders in this one. Like I said, I think they play much better at home. Arizona State making that cross-country trek for the first time in conference. Maybe there'll be a little bit of jet lag involved. I don't know. But I think that Texas Tech will find a way to outscore Arizona State and get that win. So I'm going with the Red Raiders. But how about you, Stephen? Who you got in this Big 12 matchup?
I'm actually going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to go with Arizona State. I think the Sun Devils will play good football. I like Bo Scatterbo, or not. What's his first name? Something Scatterbo.
Cam Scatterbo, maybe?
Cam Scatterbo.
That's right.
Yeah, like I said, I like him a lot.
Hey, man, he's helping out your fantasy team. I've noticed that.
I know his last name. That's fine, though.
When you got a last name that cool, just call them by their last name. That's what I'm saying, because, that's awesome last name. He's great. Yeah, I like him, too.
Give me the Sun Devils.
All right, I like it. So our first one that we're split on there. Next game there is going to be our game of the week, so we will come back to that one. But we have TCU and SMU, the renewal of this rivalry game here. It's going to take place at 5 o'clock Eastern there in Dallas. It will be televised on the CW, as it's now, SMU is now on the ACC, so you can catch them on the CW at times this season. TCU traveling, not far on the road right there to Dallas, but going to be an away game there playing SMU. Who do you like in this one, Stephen? I'll let you pick this one first.
I think TCU's been playing some pretty good football early on. I think that I like them to pull out a win here.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think I'm going to go with TCU in this one as well. SMU, coming into the season, they were pretty highly regarded. They've kind of been a bit of a mixed bag early on. BYU beat them as an underdog. TCU probably pretty upset they let that game against UCF slip away last week. So I think that they'll come out ready for this one. Plus, the rivalry implications. I got TCU getting the win there as well. Then we have Baylor traveling for a night game at Colorado there in Boulder, 8 o'clock Eastern kick. This one will be televised on Fox. Steven, I mean, you know who I'm picking. I'm going with the Baylor Bears, man. Colorado, good win last week. I'll give them credit for that. They pretty much dominated Colorado State in that rivalry game, but now they're getting into the Big 12 conference, and I think it'll be a different story for them. Baylor, are they going to be, one of the top teams in this league? No, maybe towards the middle, but maybe even in that bottom half, but I still think they're a better team overall than Colorado, and I think Dave Aranda finds a way to get the win on the road over Coach Prime. I'm going with Baylor in this one. Steven, what about you?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. And the more that this thing plays out for Colorado, the more that I'm jumping on the same train as you on that one. I don't know. I thought it was classless for Shedeur to not shake the guy's hand after the game. Like, I get that he was talking before the game. Shedeur, you talk before every single game, so I don't think anybody should probably be showing you respect if you're going by that logic. So
very true.
I don't know. I just think that there's certain elements of the game that should be upheld. Like, if someone tries to shake your hand and show you respect, then you show respect back. I mean, like, obviously there's times where, say, I don't know. I'm gonna go off on
No, it wasn't a good look at all.
It wasn't a good look at all. Like, just the whole thing that's playing out for Colorado, and they're treating that game like it was a bowl game or something. And it was a lower level Colorado State team. So yeah, I got to go with the Baylor Bears, and I hope that they show them what Big 12 football is all about, because I think that they're overly confident.
They give them a rude awakening here into their entrance into the Big 12, especially beating them on their home field. That'd be good to see. But Dave Aranda, good defensive coach. I think he'll have something ready for that Colorado offense, and we know the Colorado defense is suspect. So we're both riding with the Bears there over the Buffaloes. And then we have the nightcap late kick, because it is in Provo, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN. Kansas State coming off a good win over Arizona in a game that didn't count as a conference game. This time it does, as they meet conference opponent BYU, Steven. Our guys there in Provo welcoming in the Wildcats. Interesting matchup here, man. Do you think BYU has enough to pull off this upset? Who you rocking with in this one?
I really like Avery Johnson as a quarterback. He is phenomenal to watch. I think that they're still going to contend for a Big 12 championship for the way that they've been playing Kansas State. But y'all know me, man. I got to go with the Cougars, man.
Oh, okay. Steven's picking the upset. I like it. And I don't think it's a bad pick either. Playing at home, Provo's actually a tough place to play. It's been proven.
BYU's been playing all right.
And they have. They've been playing good. Last week they put up 30-some points. Their defense had been carrying them early, but maybe their offense is waking up a little bit now as well. They're going to need some of that offense against Kansas State, I think, as good as their defense has been. Like you said, Avery Johnson, what's his name? Dylan Edwards from
I keep
Colorado. He's good.
Gus Edwards in the NFL.
I know, too many guys with the same last name. It's hard to keep up with sometimes. Yep. But, they got him. They got DJ Giddens still in the backfield. I think Kansas State just has a little bit too much weapons on the offensive side there. I think they'll be able to, outlast BYU, but could end up being closer than people expect. But I'm going to go with Kansas State to get the win over our friends there at BYU. So that's my pick there, which brings us to the game of the week this week, Steven. And this is going to be an interesting matchup. Two teams highly ranked, both in the top 15, I believe. It's in Stillwater, 4 o'clock Eastern kick there on Fox. And if Cam Rising's able to play, which, still up in the air as if that's going to happen or not, you're going to get a matchup between two quarterbacks here who are both in their 7th year of college football, with Cam Rising and Alan Bowman. But it's a very intriguing matchup, very interesting matchup here between Utah and Oklahoma State. Who do you think is going to win our game of the week this week here in our Big 12 picks?
I still feel strongly that the Cowboys are going to have a really strong season. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a double digit, 10 points or more, that they beat
Okay.
Utah in Stillwater.
I like
And
that.
rightfully so, because I think, they're playing really good football. Oklahoma State is.
They
So
are.
I still hold strong. They might go undefeated. I was looking at their schedule, and they've got a few teams that's going to challenge them. But for the most part, I think that they should be able to handle most. And that's sad because I'm talking about us too. But for the most part, they should be able to handle anybody on their schedule.
Yeah, they look very good this year. They look like a sound team all around, offensively and defensively, and that's without Ollie Gordon really being able to get going yet to this point either. So you got to think that's coming soon for them as well. He's probably really going to find his stride. To me, it really just depends on if Cam Rising ends up playing. I think it's going to be a close one then. Without Cam Rising, I'm in the same camp as you. I think Oklahoma State wins it and wins it, fairly easily. 7 or more points probably without Cam Rising. If Cam Rising plays, though, it's interesting. It's tough to call because I think Utah will stack the box, try and make Alan Bowman beat them. But Oklahoma State does have some good weapons. But I think that the thing that makes me favor Oklahoma State, and that's why I'm going to pick the Cowboys in this game, is just that atmosphere there in Stillwater. I don't think Utah is going to be ready for that. Those close sidelines, you can hear everything the crowd's saying. Utah in their first Big 12 game is going to get a heck of a welcome to the conference, having to play there in Stillwater. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys as well, and I'm going to pick Oklahoma State to win our game of the week this week.
Yeah, it's a heck of an environment out there. I mean, I've never been out there, so I can't even say that I fully, get how close that it is. But if you look up the pictures of it, I mean, they are right up on you on the sidelines. Yeah. There's no space at all.
They got these paddles smacking the walls.
Paddles smacking. Yeah, it's wild, and you can hear those things clear on TV. So I can only imagine how it sounds when you're right up on them.
It's got to be intimidating.
Yeah.
And Utah's going to get their fair share of it, so we'll see how that one shakes out. But definitely a game to watch in the conference this week, in a week in which we see a lot of, interconference matchups here as Big 12 play begins for several teams here across the conference, including our West Virginia Mountaineers, as we've covered here in this episode. We've broken down the matchups, we've provided our key to victory and our score prediction, and we've talked a little bit about these Big 12 games coming this week and made our picks in those as well. Having said that, Steven, we'll get ready to wrap up episode 196 here momentarily, but any final thoughts on West Virginia's matchup with Kansas, or anything you want to throw in here at the tail end?
No, man, we just got to see a better brand of football. I think, in this new age of football, with NIL, and now that, the schools can pay these players directly, I don't think that it's unacceptable for us to for what we're saying that we want to see on the field. I don't think it's unacceptable.
Agreed.
I think we as fans deserve at least a top 25 football team. And we've been patient. We've trusted this climb for a long time. So with that being said, if you can't get it done with this veteran group that you say you're so deep, and then all of a sudden you come out and then you retract all those statements and you've only got 4 guys. Just for example, you were so deep at secondary, and now you've only got 4 guys that you're playing with nobody to fill those roles. If those go down, I mean, that's got to change. That's got to change if I'm going to stay on board with him to be our head coach. So other than that, it's a must-win game this weekend.
Must-win game. We need to see the improvements that we're looking for, the changes that we're looking for to hopefully still, right the ship and maybe make this season still a success. Still holding out that little bit of hope that it can happen, but it's going to start with this game against Kansas for sure. Must-win game for both teams. Hopefully West Virginia comes out and shows that they want it even more than the Jayhawks do. That's what we have to hope as Mountaineer fans. But last thing I want to say here is just thank you guys for tuning into this episode, whether you watched it there on YouTube. If you did tune into the video version there, just give us a quick thumbs up, give us a like on the video. That helps a ton with the algorithm. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe here for a ton of Mountaineer football coverage throughout the 2024 season. We appreciate you listening on the audio side of that version as well. You can find on any podcast platform you like, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, you name it. Just search Country Roads Webcast. You can find us there. And if you do find us there, leave us a rating while you're at it, preferably a 5-star rating. But hey, give us what you feel like we deserve. And of course, thank you to WVSportsNow.com for always hosting our episodes on their website as well. Other than that, Steven, the only thing that I really got to say is hoping for the best and, not going in with my expectations too high, so that way I really can't be let down. If anything, maybe they'll come out and exceed my expectations, and I'll be pleasantly surprised with this game coming up against Kansas. I think we're both feeling that way with the way that we predicted this game, and hopefully West Virginia comes out, proves everyone wrong, including Mountaineer fans throughout Mountaineer Nation that are doubting them, and they really show type of good team that they've talked about they can be all off season and even up to this point in the season, still thinking that they have a good football team. Hopefully they come out and show us that finally on Saturday.
Yeah, finally.
It's time.
It's got to be this weekend because, like I said, hate to sound like a broken record, but season doesn't get any easier from here on out.
That's right. This is the start of a tough slate, and you got to come out and show that you're ready for this tough slate and ready to be competitive with these tough games coming up. Starting with this one on Saturday against Kansas, noon on ESPN2. Check it out, Mountaineer Nation. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope to get back on the winning side of things and start conference play the right way. Regardless of how down we all feel right now, we all still need to cheer on the Mountaineers and hope for the best because, hey, we only get at least 12 of these opportunities every year to watch this team play. So let's take advantage of them and let's enjoy them while they're around. So regardless of the outcome, we'll be here each and every week to talk about the Mountaineers, and we'll be back to review this game in our review and reaction podcast episode releasing on Monday following the game. Hopefully it's a more optimistic one where we have a little bit of hope reinstored into us by the way the Mountaineers perform in this game against the Jayhawks. Hoping for that. So is my co-host Steven. For him and myself, until next time, let's go Mountaineers.
If you really want to know, then come on, let's go. Take a stroll down those